Now we're moving forward. Imagine that the game has begun, and now you're playing in an opening stage. There is one important thing you need to know about here. Avoid tactical openings when your opponent is better prepared. What do I mean by tactical openings? We're talking about sharp positions with lots of forcing variations, complications, tactics, and so on. In such complex situations, chances for a blunder are huge. If your opponent is better prepared, it gives him a massive advantage. He will play the best moves suggested by his computer, while you will have to think by yourself. Modern computer programs are very strong, they have a rating above 3000, and I bet you don't want to compete with them, especially in complicated tactical positions. Most likely you will miscalculate and will make an oversight and will lose the game instantly. That's why you should avoid it. So avoid tactical openings when your opponent is better prepared. How do you know if your opponent is prepared better or worse than you? Well, let's say he plays his moves very quickly, showing his excellent preparation, or another situation, your opponent is playing the variation which he haven't used before, and it's obvious that he prepared it for this game against you. So quite often you can realize that your opponent is prepared better than you. Another example, let's say you see that you're getting involved in a certain complicated opening and you don't remember the book moves very well. In all such cases, you should avoid this tactical opening and choose something simpler, something calmer. Let's say you're playing white, and after your move e4, your opponent, who usually plays e5, instead of that, suddenly invites you into Alekhine variation by playing knight f6. Obviously he prepared something, and you know that Alekhine defense is a complex variation with lots of tricky ideas, and that's why instead of going into the main line with e5, you can do something simpler, something calmer, for example, just play knight c3. Of course, this is not the most ambitious move, and maybe you won't get an opening advantage, but at least you'll get a secure position and nothing bad is gonna happen with you here. So this is how you can avoid tactical variations when your opponent is better prepared. Let's imagine another example, and once again you're playing white, and you start with your normal moves, Sicilian defense, and here your opponent plays g6, starting the dragon variation of Sicilian defense. And at this point you realize that you haven't repeated the dragon variation for quite a long time, and you don't remember the following lines good enough. In such a situation, it will be better not to go into the main lines, with bishop e3, f3 and so on, but choose something simpler, something rather positional. For example, you can play bishop e2, then castling, and you have a normal secure position. Again, this is not the most aggressive variation, that's right, but you'll get a secure position and at least nothing bad is gonna happen with you, and otherwise, if you don't use this way, if you go into the main lines, you'll be vulnerable for tactical oversights, and you'll give a chance to your opponent to use his opening preparation. This is a game between two strong grandmasters, Kramnik and Ronan. We can see a complex position with mutual chances. Black played b5, and most likely he expected a natural check, knight b6, where black is okay. However, white suddenly played knight e5, and white is going to play queen f7 mate. Black can't take the knight because this will open the f file, enabling white to play queen f7 mate anyway. And that's why black is really in huge trouble. The only move to cover f7 square is rook f8. But after knight takes d7, black can't recapture the knight because of his hanging rook on e8. White won this game afterwards, and it looks like just a sudden blunder made by a very strong player. So if we make a few moves back, it seems like the black's mistake was just a sudden oversight with his move b5. But in fact it's not. This is not a sudden accident, and this is a logical consequence of the wrong choice made by 𝐻𝐻𝐻 on the third move of this game. The game started knight f3, d5, c4, d4, b4, and here black chose a sharp line f6. It leads to complex tactical variations, and it's wrong to play such a complicated opening line if you're not aware of the following lines and if you're not completely confident in your opening preparation. Otherwise, you will spend a lot of time, you will miscalculate, and there is a great chance that you'll overlook something and will lose the game. This happened with 𝐻𝐻𝐻, and I hope you learn this lesson and will not fall into the same trap in your own games. Now let's go ahead to the next advice. Let's say you have chosen a secure opening line and have passed this stage of the game flawlessly. Now you're out of the opening book, and it's time for you to think independently. Perhaps it's middle game. There is an important thing here which you need to know in order to prevent blunders. Here it is. Keep track of your opponent's plans. How should black play here? And generally, what should you do when it is your turn? Perhaps find the candidate ideas, analyze them, and attack the best one. Is that right? No, it's completely wrong, because first of all, you need to think about the last opponent's move and ask yourself what is the idea behind the last opponent's move and what is he going to do next. In this game, black wasn't aware of this recommendation and he played a5, trying to realize his plan, his attack on the queen side. White sadly answered bishop takes g6, and now he's winning instantly. For example, if black takes with the bishop, white plays f7 and he reaches the black's king in all the variations. Like bishop takes, then queen f6, and queen g7 is unavoidable. Also, black could have taken with a pawn, but it doesn't change much because still the white's queen reaches the g7 square. Queen h6 and then queen g7. Black player is a grandmaster, so why did he overlook this relatively simple combination with very short variations to calculate? Simply because he was focused on his own plans. Keep track of your opponent's plans. Well, let's be realistic. It's natural for us to care and to think about ourselves, first and foremost. You can be excited about a certain possibility and you will start calculating this variation, and after some time you'll realize that it's time to play something because, you have a time limitation while playing. And that's why I'll just play this move and you'll forget to care about your opponent and to think about his plans. That's why you should think about your opponent's ideas first. Before starting to think about your own possibilities, you need to think about your opponent's plans. So, right after the opponent's move, ask yourself this question. What is the idea behind the last opponent's move, and what is he going to do next? If you ask yourself these questions, you will always be aware of opponent's plans and will never overlook them. And if you think about your opponent first, then you will never forget to perform this step. This is a very powerful technique, and I encourage you to take it seriously and to train it and to try to perform it constantly.